Greetings to all of you, dear brothers and sisters. God has been good to us, and we are so privileged once again to receive this blessing that we could study from His Word together. I want to remind each one of us from the experience of the children of Israel as they were bordering the Promised Land. But before they entered into the Promised Land, Moses sends 12 spies to spy on the land of Canaan. And as we know the story, out of these 12 spies, 10 spies gave bad reports. But 2 spies gave them good reports. Reports of hope and reports that they will be able to conquer and enter into the Promised Land. I want to read to you from Numbers chapter 13, verse 30 and 31. Then Caleb silenced the people before Moses and said, "We should go up and take possession of the land, for we can certainly do it." These are words of hope. These are good reports given by Joshua and Caleb to Moses and to the children of Israel. But on the other hand, the 10 spies gave bad reports. Verse 31 says, "But the man who had gone up with him said, 'We can't attack those people. They are stronger than we are.'" Bad reports. Reports of hopelessness. Reports that they will not be able to enter into the Promised Land. No matter how much Joshua and Caleb tried to convince them and the people that they can capture and enter into the Promised Land, no matter what they have told the people, and these 10 spies were against Joshua and Caleb. And at one point, someone yelled out saying they should stone Joshua and Caleb. And each one of them took stones and rushed to stone at Joshua and Caleb. And as they were rushing, Mrs. Ellen G. White in her writings, Patriarchs and Prophets, page 390 says, "Immediately God intervened, and the stones that they were carrying in their hands fell down to the ground. Each one of them were silenced. They were in fear. They were frightened, and they trembled at this very act of God." Dear brothers and sisters, a very important lesson for us to learn today. When we go against God's anointed leadership, when we go against God's will, there is danger for us. There is something that God does not approve of us. And let me also remind each one of us that if we go against such kind of leadership, we are against God's will. We are against God. And definitely here in this story, these 10 spies were not only against Joshua and Caleb, they were not only against Moses and his leadership, but above all, they were against God Himself. The children of Israel witnessed God's leading from the time they came out from Egypt. In the wilderness, they received God's blessings. They received manna from heaven. They received water. They received God's protection. But in spite of all this, they still rebelled against Moses. And rebelling against Moses led them to rebel against God. Dear friends, are we rebelling against God's leadership? Are we rebelling against God's anointed leaders? If we are rebelling against such God's anointed leaders, we are rebelling against God. Let us not fall into the temptation like these 10 spies, but let us have hope. Let us have faith in the leadership that God has anointed upon. Let us have faith and hope in God's leading. Today we are living in this wicked world. God is leading us, and let us cling on to His promises and follow Him faithfully, and only then we will enter into that heavenly Canaan, where God has promised us, where God has given to us, where there will be no more sadness, no more pain, and no more suffering. May we all be faithful, and may we all cling on to God's leading. This is my humble prayer to all of us today. May God bless all of us. Amen. I'm Barwin Marak for Breakthrough Today.